Ginny was gorgeous. I first met her in a coffee shop in the village. I loved her thighs, glistening beneath her summer shorts, and small melon breasts bulging out from her shirt. Her face was smooth, with a thick lower lip and upturned prep school nose. We met up a few days later in the village, in a cafe that was blasting cold air, stifling all the usual smells that summer charmed from living beings. I talked to her about what she did, worked as a consultant in some financial firm. She didn't seem to mind it. In fact, thought it was dandy, earning buku money and whatnot. She was from Long Island, but spent most of her youth here in the city. Then went to Columbia. She was dressed in a summer dress and cleavage that was just enough to tantalize. The dress was short, and her legs shone like they had the day before.
Travel much?
"Oh, here and there," she said, and twirled her hair. I was getting to her. "Where?" "Paris, London." I stopped listening when she named cities instead of countries. The few times she mentioned a country, I inquired further only to get the name of some resort. Cancun isn't Mexico. She twirled her hair some more, bit her lip, and all was forgiven. "You travel?"
A lot. My job requires it.
"Oh, and what do you work as?" Oh, the question I could not answer. I smiled at her and sipped my coffee.
It's a consultant business, but I mainly do it for the government.
I looked her over quickly, then wondered if I should have added any sugar or cream to my coffee. It was barely drinkable, and here we are in a fancy New York City cafe. The girl behind the counter, with her excessive tattoos and piercings, looked like something the village had been spewing out for decades. "Like what exactly?"
"Security type stuff."
I sipped the coffee again, trying to get a little into my mouth as possible. There was a background flavor of burned beans, and I couldn't get around this taste. She looked me over. "Coffee not good?"
"It's fine. Nothing like Paris, though, right?"
"Oh, it's amazing in Paris."
"Well, can't exactly talk about what I do. Not that I won't. It's just that it's sensitive, and that once I've gotten to know you, I can trust you with some of the information."
She looked at me incredulously, waiting for me to break out into a smile. I could tell. "This isn't a joke, is it?"
"No. It sounds ridiculous, and if you don't believe me or think this is some trick, then let me know, because it won't work out then."
She moved uncomfortably in her seat, then looked at me. Eye contact suddenly as fierce as a warrior's tribesman's. I stayed calm and looked into her blue eyes. I noticed that they were especially reflective, shiny orbs. "Okay," she murmured, not acting quite certain with the whole situation.
"Thank you. If it helps, I can't tell too many people what I do, not even my family."
That seemed to soften the blow for her, and we dived into the issue of my family, the distance, the happiness in leaving the small town for something so grand and shiny like the city. I moved us out to Washington Square. She carelessly bumped her hand into mine, grasped her finger, felt her seat away, and moved up to hold her hand. I looked at her and forced myself not to smile. She looked down again. Was she shy or cynical? I couldn't quite tell. At the square we watched performers, mostly black, dancing somersaults for the mostly light-skinned loungers. Some were entertaining, pulling in the crowd, then going for broke with scary flips. I tossed some money into their hats. "So how did you get into your line of work?" I paused, looking off to the distance. She was examining me again, using those cynical city eyes to see if there was so much as a hint that I was making all this up. If I stumbled for a second, she would be gone. A deer in the woods, my finger on the trigger. This flesh was mine.
"I was in the military before, in special operations."
I paused, still taking in drips. The word I used was a generic term if I ever had heard one, but it was used because getting any more specific would lead to confusion. After all, she was a civilian. In this day and age in America, that meant that she didn't know fuck all about the military. "Wow, that is something."
"Do you know anything about it? About special operations?"
If she did know, I was still good. If she didn't, I would just stay away from specifics. "No, I think I've heard of it, though." She smiled and looked away before moving closer to me. My heart jumped, and I stopped my mind from racing about and imagining her without her clothes on.